Dinar Shift, welcome back, everyone. Today's broadcast could very well be the single most crucial economic report we've delivered all year. Across the global financial infrastructure, a truly massive event is reportedly unfolding behind the scenes, and its focal point is the Iraqi Dinar, IQD. For many years, those closely tracking currency markets and economic developments in the Middle East have been patiently awaiting a definitive signal. Now, compelling indications suggest that this extensive period of anticipation may finally be drawing to a close. We are receiving accounts of live IQD exchange rates appearing on secure institutional banking terminals. These are not unverified leaks or whispers. They are described as active, dynamic back-end numbers connected directly to the sophisticated global foreign exchange systems. Crucially, these figures are not minor adjustments or fractions of the current valuation. They reportedly suggest a dollar-level value that possesses the potential to fundamentally transform the economic perception of the entire nation of Iraq on the world stage. This is a fast-moving, developing narrative, and you'll want to remain with us for the entirety of this update. Over the next segment, we will meticulously dissect the alleged meaning of these technical updates, analyze the reported protocols major banks are utilizing to prepare for a public rate adjustment, and outline the essential information that every holder of the Iraqi dinar must thoroughly comprehend before the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, or the government issues any formal public announcement. The information we are gathering suggests this is not merely theoretical. It is a live operational sequence of events happening right now, this very hour. Multiple credible banking insiders and contacts across the region have begun to confirm that internal exchange systems, particularly those networked with major U.S. financial institutions, are indicating a live, ongoing rate adjustment for the IQD. This is the critical juncture. It is important to emphasize that these reported changes are not yet visible on public-facing trading applications or major global financial news feeds. Instead, they are said to be active exclusively within the highly restricted internal Forex testing and synchronization environments. These specialized systems are the digital backbone used by international banks to harmonize and validate currency rates worldwide before any official value is released to the general public. In essence, these internal movements are being interpreted as the final, operational, pre-launch phase of a long-anticipated monetary transition. Screens that previously displayed the Iraqi dinar as locked at an old value or completely inactive are now reportedly showing dynamic, updated numbers. The reported range for some of these figures is said to span from 380 to 425 per dinar. To grasp the monumental nature of this reported shift, one must recall that Iraq's official, long-standing exchange rate has been fixed near 1,300 dinars to $1. A transition to the dollar-level values reportedly circulating behind the scenes represents an extraordinary and groundbreaking change to the currency's fundamental valuation structure. The sheer significance of these reported back-end changes cannot be overstated in the context of Iraq's modern economic history. These early, allegedly live internal rates are being widely viewed as the first truly substantive, measurable evidence that a comprehensive revaluation plan has progressed beyond mere conceptual planning or internal stress testing and into actual, real-world live integration within the global banking architecture. This is the moment where theory becomes technically operational. To fully appreciate the gravity of this reported development, a brief look at Iraq's profound economic evolution over the last 20 years is necessary. The nation has worked diligently to move away from a period of instability and conflict toward establishing itself as a consequential economic anchor within the regional landscape. Iraq is home to some of the world's largest verified oil reserves, coupled with vast quantities of natural gas, precious minerals, and gold stores. This immense resource base provides the essential economic foundation for a stronger currency. The Iraqi government has, over recent years, partnered closely with major international financial bodies and organizations to systematically strengthen its entire currency system. These efforts were designed to aggressively stabilize persistent inflation, professionalize the financial sector, and accumulate a truly massive base of foreign currency reserves. The Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, is now reliably reported to hold well over $100 billion in foreign currency reserves, a critically important level that furnishes the institution with formidable leverage and confidence required to support a significantly higher exchange rate valuation for the dinar. For nearly 2 decades, the Central Bank of Iraq has been engaged in a sustained, quiet campaign to modernize its financial infrastructure. This has involved establishing connections to robust international clearing networks, developing contemporary digital payment frameworks, and ensuring complete compatibility for seamless cross-border transactions. Every deliberate step taken by the CBI over this period has pointed toward one singular, strategic objective: creating an Iraqi dinar that is stronger, dynamically flexible, and fully recognized as a major, transactable global currency. The reported activation of internal rates suggests that the long-term technical preparations are being realized in a live environment. The narrative becomes truly compelling when considering recent official statements from the Central Bank of Iraq. The CBI reportedly confirmed the formal activation of a new exchange rate framework deep within its internal banking infrastructure. While the public announcement was notably brief and somewhat reserved, the system was explicitly characterized as one that permits rate flexibility and real-time adjustments between the dinar and global currencies. This language is incredibly potent and signifies a major shift in monetary policy intent. In practical terms, the interpretation of this statement is that the IQD is no longer intended to function as a rigidly fixed currency perpetually pegged to the dollar. Instead, the currency is reportedly transitioning toward what economists term a controlled float. This sophisticated system allows the currency's value to adjust gradually and organically within a carefully managed range, operating much in the same fashion as other established major global currencies. This new operational capacity provides the Iraqi central bank with the crucial ability to respond to changing global market conditions and oil price dynamics in a far more dynamic and proactive manner. When one consolidates this policy shift toward dynamic rate management with the nation's rising oil export volumes, expanding regional economic partnerships, and measurable trade growth, it collectively establishes what is being described as the perfect confluence of factors for a truly historic moment of currency revaluation. What banking insiders are reportedly witnessing now could be interpreted as the pivotal first activation phase of that meticulously planned and long-anticipated adjustment strategy. Furthermore, internal reports circulating inside Iraq indicate that local branches of several of the country's largest commercial banks have received specific, sensitive instructions to update their exchange rate software. Multiple on-the-ground field reports suggest that bank tellers and internal operations staff were formally instructed to refresh their rate databases and undertake rigorous preparations for imminent rate adjustments that are anticipated to appear on their internal screens in the very near future. This is decidedly not a random or arbitrary occurrence within the highly regulated banking sector. Commercial banks do not initiate updates to their sensitive internal exchange modules unless a specific, non-negotiable technical change is mandated and incoming directly from the Central Monetary Authority, which in this case is the CBI. Coinciding with these reports from Iraq, certain major U.S. banks, including institutions like Bank of America and Wells Fargo, have reportedly made critical updates to their foreign currency platforms. These updates are said to include the removal of the previously standing inactive label from the IQD currency listings. The removal of this key indicator suggests that these massive institutions are technically positioning themselves for live transaction capability, the very instant an official public exchange rate is formally published by the CBI. This type of coordinated, behind-the-scenes synchronization is precisely the methodical way in which major global currency transitions are effectively rolled out. The general public may not yet have access to these internal data points, but the global financial institutions invariably prepare their infrastructure well in advance. Their goal is to ensure that once a new rate becomes publicly visible worldwide, the technical systems are already robustly equipped to seamlessly handle the potentially massive transaction volumes that are expected to follow. It is also particularly significant to analyze why this specific calendar year, 2025, has emerged as the probable window for Iraq to finalize this major monetary maneuver. From a geopolitical and economic standpoint, Iraq has strategically pursued alignment with a number of influential new international initiatives. They have secured significant, long-term oil and infrastructure contracts with major economic powers like China and India. Additionally, they have actively integrated into digital settlement systems that facilitate trade using multiple currencies, and the nation has formally applied for full membership within the World Trade Organization, WTO. All of these high-level actions consistently support Iraq's overarching, long-term strategy of complete global economic and financial reintegration. Furthermore, the Iraqi government has successfully passed and implemented a series of critical anti-corruption reforms specifically designed to grant the Central Bank of Iraq full autonomy over its vital monetary policy decisions. This measure effectively separates the CBI's decisions from direct political influence, a crucial operational milestone that international financial observers have consistently demanded for years as a precondition for full compliance. In addition to these governance reforms, Iraq's gold reserves have been steadily and strategically augmented, further strengthening the country's position for an asset-backed approach to maintaining currency strength and value. When any nation successfully combines immense oil wealth, deep trade integration, robust financial independence, and proven monetary policy autonomy, it naturally builds significant confidence among the global community of foreign investors. That enhanced confidence, in turn, is the fundamental mechanism required to sustain a higher, more stable currency value over the long term. This is precisely the economic dynamic that reports suggest is actively taking shape in Iraq at this very moment. Adding another layer of complex intrigue to the situation is the notable, albeit quiet, increase in coordination and high-level dialogue between Iraq's financial leadership and the U.S. Treasury Department. Just 2 weeks prior to the alleged appearance of these internal test rates, a delegation from the U.S. Treasury was reportedly in Baghdad. Their mission was to conduct a thorough review of the country's extensive monetary reform progress. The delegation held key meetings with both the CBI governor and senior government ministers. Although specific public details from these sensitive discussions were scarce, insider sources indicated that the meetings were highly productive and included extensive discussions concerning rate flexibility protocols, critical compliance upgrades, and the essential technical connectivity between Iraq's financial networks and the demanding global systems. The timing of subsequent events is exceptionally difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence. Within a few days of that high-level meeting, reports began to surface of live test rates appearing across multiple significant banking backends globally. This specific and tight sequence of policy reform, international high-level cooperation, and subsequent technical back-end activity strongly suggests that Iraq may have successfully received the long-awaited green signal required to begin the operational phase of its currency adjustment process. The synchronization clearly indicates a meticulously coordinated rollout strategy that has been carefully engineered and prepared over the span of many years. As these developments continue to unfold with remarkable speed, many currency analysts believe the world is currently entering the initial stage of what will be a major two-phase process. The first phase, which is currently reported to be active, is the comprehensive internal activation. During this sensitive period, the new rates go live exclusively within government systems, key banking networks, and major institutional platforms, but they remain strictly inaccessible to the general public. This serves as the critical testing, validation, and synchronization window. The subsequent second stage will be the comprehensive international release. This second stage is the point where the same successfully tested and synchronized rates will become openly visible on all public Forex feeds, including major platforms like XE, Oanda, and various other currency tracking and trading platforms used worldwide. Historically, once these intricate back-end tests are successfully stabilized and validated, the transition to full public visibility can happen very rapidly, sometimes within a matter of mere hours or possibly a few days at most. The most critical aspect to understand from the current reports is that the figures being observed are allegedly live, dynamic exchange rates, not simply static or inactive placeholder codes. This represents the first known instance in years that Iraq's currency is reportedly showing functional movement within the tightly controlled global systems, a breakthrough event that has dramatically reignited global attention to the Iraqi dinar's narrative. In considering the reported potential of these new internal rates, if they were to eventually transition to a public official status, the financial implications for individual holders of the IQD would be demonstrably enormous. For illustrative purposes only, an individual holding a notional 1 million dinar at a new exchange rate of, for example, $4 per dinar, would see the value of their holdings amount to 4 million before any applicable taxes, fees, or mandated compliance deductions. However, it is absolutely essential to maintain a perspective that is both realistic and fully informed. Any comprehensive currency revaluation process will necessarily include strict adherence to official verification, compliance procedures, and proper taxation steps as mandated by law. All legitimate currency exchanges will be processed exclusively through regulated, professional financial institutions. Individuals will almost certainly be required to follow formal, structured appointment and rigorous documentation procedures. This is precisely why experts consistently urge everyone following this story to maintain a composed demeanor, actively avoid premature speculation, and patiently wait for the release of official announcements from the Central Bank of Iraq. The potential scale of the change is significant, but it is critical to remain disciplined and grounded throughout the process. Looking beyond the immediate excitement, the broader economic context is even more profound. The developments reportedly occurring in Iraq are being viewed by some analysts as a microcosm of a much wider, ongoing global trend. A significant shift toward economic models underpinned by hard assets and integrated with sophisticated digital trade systems. Nations across the globe are proactively reassessing how their currencies are valued and traded. We are observing a significant rise in global gold reserves, a fundamental restructuring of complex international trade agreements, and the steady integration of cutting-edge digital platforms into national monetary policies. In this context, Iraq's progress could be seen as a template for other developing, resource-rich economies seeking to restore or establish greater financial sovereignty and independence. A successful, verifiable IQD revaluation would send a powerful global signal that a nation rich in resources can effectively reclaim its currency strength through the committed implementation of economic reform, rigorous transparency, and successful international collaboration. This outcome could also serve as a major encouragement for other countries in comparable economic positions to pursue their own coordinated monetary adjustments. This fundamental global dynamic is why leading economists worldwide are closely monitoring every development in Iraq, not solely for the domestic implications, but for the potential broader impact it could have on the entire international monetary and trade landscape in 2025 and the years immediately following. At this sensitive juncture, the single most important overriding event to watch for remains the issuance of a definitive official statement from the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI. Once the CBI publicly and unequivocally confirms that the new rate framework is fully and operationally live for international transactions, it will serve as the immediate trigger. This official trigger will compel all public Forex systems to update their screens globally. Very shortly thereafter, major U.S. and international banks will simultaneously enable official public exchange operations for the dinar. When that materializes, the news will be immediately picked up by the mainstream financial media, and the entire global market infrastructure will adjust instantaneously and accordingly. Until that formal announcement is made, these reported back-end tests serve as the strongest technical signal yet that the revaluation process is no longer a theoretical exercise. It has become fully operational on a technical level. Analysts, private investors, and even governments are reported to be paying meticulous attention to every minor rate fluctuation as the data begins the process of stabilization within the core network systems. The fact that multiple major financial institutions globally are now reportedly synchronizing and aligning their internal systems suggests one critical interpretation. A coordinated public launch window is highly likely and potentially imminent. Furthermore, the speed and scale of the technological advancements in Iraq's core financial infrastructure cannot be ignored in this context. Over the last few years, the country has aggressively implemented robust new digital payment gateways, sophisticated mobile banking platforms, and modernized interbank transfer systems. These comprehensive digital upgrades have positioned Iraq as one of the fastest improving financial systems in the wider Middle East region. A successful transition to a flexible or adjusted exchange rate regime would have been practically impossible without this massive, preceding technological modernization effort. By successfully enabling real-time data synchronization between the CBI, commercial banks, and international networks, Iraq has fundamentally set the stage for a remarkably seamless transition into a stronger, more respected global economic position. Every single major monetary reform observed in modern history has required this exact level of digital readiness and interconnectivity, and Iraq has reportedly now achieved it. This entire trajectory of progress is reflective of a deliberate, well-conceived, and carefully implemented economic strategy specifically designed to lift the nation's currency valuation to accurately reflect its actual massive economic potential. On a more personal and human level, the potential for a currency adjustment has reportedly inspired a fresh wave of hope among millions of people who have maintained faith in Iraq's eventual economic comeback over the years. For a long time, holders of the dinar have had to contend with rampant skepticism, a constant stream of misinformation, and numerous frustrating delays. Yet despite all these challenges, many remained steadfastly confident that one day the currency would recover its inherent and rightful strength. the accumulating reports of technical data, the functional readiness of banking systems, and the observable official actions taken by the Central Bank of Iraq all collectively point toward a major transformation that is reportedly reaching its final activation phase. This moment represents significantly more than just potential financial gain. It is a profound symbol of comprehensive national recovery, immense perseverance, and full global reintegration. Iraq's modern history is defined by its resilience, and if this widely anticipated revaluation successfully completes, it will decisively mark the dawn of an entirely new economic era for its people and for the wider regional economy. Nevertheless, it is a crucial time for experts to issue strong warnings about the dangers of misinformation during this sensitive and exciting phase. Whenever major currency news like this surfaces, a proliferation of fake websites, malicious emails, and fraudulent phone calls begins to circulate rapidly, all falsely claiming to offer early exchanges or exclusive rates. These are definitively scams designed specifically to exploit excitement and poor judgment. Viewers are strongly advised to verify every single piece of information directly through official, reputable sources only. It is paramount to actively avoid sharing any personal data or currency details with unverified parties and to patiently wait for clear, public instructions to be issued directly from the CBI or major, recognized international banks. The safest and most prudent approach is always patience and disciplined observation. No legitimate exchange operation will ever take place before the official global rate is publicly confirmed and actively live. Remember this fundamental principle. Real financial institutions operate with complete transparency. They will never solicit advance fees, deposits, or sensitive personal documents via random, unsolicited online messages or cold calls. As monitoring continues, analysts are also maintaining a cautious eye on Vietnam. The Vietnamese dong, at VND, has been frequently mentioned in connection with the IQD for many years, with both countries reportedly following closely related currency reform and development schedules. Intriguingly, some of the very same back-end systems reportedly displaying activity for the Iraqi dinar are also showing test rate updates for the dong. These reported values, while completely unconfirmed publicly, are said to range between 2.85 and 3.20 per dong. If both Iraq and Vietnam were to successfully activate new currency rates within a similar, close time frame, it would mark a unique dual revaluation event, something that economists have quietly anticipated as a potential part of a wider realignment of value across emerging global markets. This synchronized timing would make a certain economic sense, as both nations are strategically shifting away from purely export-driven models toward more balanced, value-based domestic economies. What makes this year, 2025, so remarkable is the speed at which the entire world's financial architecture is transforming. Nations are actively piloting digital currencies, exploring asset-backed systems like gold, and integrating new forms of interbank settlement technology. Concerns over persistent inflation, large-scale geopolitical changes, and massive global debt pressures have all collectively accelerated these fundamental financial shifts. Within this dynamic global environment, Iraq's commitment to modernization and strengthening its currency decisively positions it as a potential regional leader in comprehensive economic reform. This significant move could potentially attract massive, sustained foreign direct investment, vigorously drive infrastructure growth, and substantially increase the purchasing power for every Iraqi citizen. The resulting ripple effects could easily extend far beyond the Middle East, influencing major trade dynamics across Europe and Asia for investors globally. It represents a textbook case study in how long-term preparation, patient execution, and deliberate policy reform can combine to create a monumental financial change. Let's return to the phrase that has encapsulated this week's reports. Banks are lighting up. This is more than a mere catchphrase. It is a literal description of the technical activity reportedly occurring in real time. Internal banking systems, sophisticated Forex trading terminals, and integrated digital currency platforms are registering verifiable live, operational activity for the IQD. For the first time in many years, the crucial data is reportedly no longer static. It is dynamic, constantly updating, and the massive systems are demonstrably preparing for a major event. The palpable energy currently circulating inside the financial sector is unmistakable to veterans. Those who have been tracking the dinar story for a decade or more can sense that the tide has potentially turned. This technical movement is the digital equivalent of the lights suddenly and quietly coming on after a long, dark night. It is a quiet, highly technical, but profoundly symbolic moment in global finance. All of the meticulously assembled pieces are now reportedly in motion, and that is what elevates this moment to a truly historic status. Over the course of the next few days, analysts fully anticipate that more confirmation data will surface from regional and international banking networks. As more individual systems go live and synchronize, the complex rate data will become increasingly difficult to entirely contain. Eventually, the public trading feeds will inevitably and accurately reflect what is already visible and operational behind the scenes. When that definitive moment arrives, the media coverage will be explosive and global in scope. However, for all of you who rely on this channel, you are already well ahead of the curve, observing the early technical signs before they break into mainstream headlines. This is precisely why remaining both fully informed and critically level-headed is absolutely crucial right now. Whether you are a private investor, a hopeful supporter of Iraq's ongoing recovery, or simply a curious global observer, this unfolding story is without question one of the most significant financial events of 2025. So, what are the most prudent steps to take right now? First, prioritize remaining calm and meticulously organized. Ensure your currency is safely stored and your original purchase records are easily accessible, and proactively familiarize yourself with the foreign currency procedures of your local major banks. Second, exercise the utmost patience while remaining intensely alert for any and all official communication. When the rate is formally made public, the subsequent exchange process will be clearly, officially outlined and communicated. There will be sufficient time to act, and the goal is to execute every necessary move strategically and with discipline. Third, resist the urge to get swept up in either the excessive hype or the accompanying fear. This is a moment that demands steady minds and well-informed, rational decisions. The potential opportunity is significant, but it will unquestionably reward discipline over emotion. The more composed and prepared you remain, the better positioned you will be when all the technical adjustments are made official. As we conclude today's essential broadcast, let us collectively appreciate the immense magnitude of what is reportedly unfolding. Iraq's currency, once considered volatile and massively undervalued, stands on the cusp of a potential transformation that could permanently alter its global economic standing. The nation's sustained domestic progress, the major technological infrastructure upgrades, and the successful international cooperation efforts all point definitively in one direction: upward. And while it is entirely premature to speculate on the final public rate or the exact public timing, one clear fact remains undeniable: the movement has decisively begun. The signs are no longer merely speculative. They are technical, measurable, visible, and historic in their implications. Whether you have held the dinar for years or are just now discovering this profound narrative, this is a financial event you will want to observe with the closest attention. To all of you watching, the path toward a currency revaluation has been arduous, filled with deep doubts and constant delays. But based on the current confluence of evidence and reports, the technical reality is undeniable. The systems are reportedly lighting up, the back-end rates are active, and the entire synchronized infrastructure is technically alive. Something truly extraordinary is reportedly taking place at the core of global finance, and Iraq is positioned directly at the epicenter of it all. Stay closely tuned for further verified updates, and please ensure you are subscribed to the channel so this essential story reaches others who need to hear it. The next time we gather, we may very well be discussing the official public rate, the moment the world finally sees what has been meticulously building behind the scenes for years. Until then, remain disciplined, stay informed, and as always, thank you for watching Dinar Shift. The story of the IQD revaluation, according to these reports, is no longer about if it happens, but definitively about when the final switch is flipped.